Okay, so I just want to mention that these videos are not mine. I don't know anything about it. But what I want to do here is I want to dub the what they're saying into English. I find that what they have to say is so important that uh, I want the rest of the world to know it. So let's just jump right into the topic. And the topic is Venezuela and international representatives from 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 Europe. Um, Mr. President Maduro has given European international representatives 72 hours to leave Venezuela. On June 28, 2020, the European Congress met to discuss what they are going to do about Venezuela. The European Congress decided to sanction Venezuelans high officials with economic sanctions. It includes military, marines, the National Electoral Council, and the Supreme Court electoral courts. The reason behind is Venezuelans will be holding National Assembly elections within 6 months. The European Congress is trying for Venezuela as a country to cancel the elections. Venezuela is trying to hold democratic elections as they do every 5 years. Um, the electoral system in Venezuela works the following: 51 members of the National Assembly elected from party lists, a further 113 chosen as individuals, plus three indigenous representatives. The 23 states, as well as the capital district, selects either two or three parliaments in a number based on its population. Each territory divided into constituencies, some of which elect more than one representative, but a state of representatives are elected from a party list with voters choosing a party symbol rather than a name. According to Mr. Maduro, the European Congress is threatening with sanctions all those who participate in the assembly electoral elections. According to Mr. Nicolas Maduro, the 27 members of Congress are members of the European Union and support Guaido, a politician who self declared interim president of Venezuela on January 23rd, 2019. Let's not forget that Mr. Guaido was supposed to call for a new presidential election within 3 months of declaring himself interim president, but never did. Now, Guaido self-declared interim president at a public park. There was no one. There was no one member of the assembly or Congress. Let me be honest. That doesn't sound right at all, and I don't think anyone anywhere else in the world would have accepted. Okay, let's continue. On June 22nd, President Trump backtracked from remarks that had opened the door to a possible meeting with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Trump administration brands a rapacious dictator and the illegitimate ruler. Hmm? The 2020 election is a talking point of for Republicans, especially in Florida, home to thousands of wealthy Venezuelans expatriates who detest the Cuban-backed Maduro. Cuban Americans have long been a power center for Republicans in Florida, a, a swing state Trump badly needs to win. After a backlash from Democrats, warhawks, and some Republicans, Trump tweeted the following: "Not as a radical or as a person of the left, I will always be against socialism. I will stay by the side of the Venezuelan people whom I admire and will always be with them in their quest for freedom and democracy against the oppressive regime of Nicolas Maduro." I will only meet to discuss a peaceful exit. Mhm. The president of Venezuela made an interesting point about the 27 European Congress members. He said they do not know anything about democracy since they are always awaiting orders from Washington or the White House. Zero political independence. The point of view here, the U.S., Europe are trying to block the Chinese influence in the Americas, Europe, and around the world. President Xi Jinping and Maduro see eye to eye. The reason why President Trump sent warships to the Caribbean waters is to prevent Maduro from selling petroleum to China. We all know the majority of drugs come from Colombia and come into the U.S. through Pacific Ocean. The United Nations does not support any sanctions from the U.S. in Europe, as those sanctions are unilaterals. These European nations have met several times and will continue to meet to plan how to block China's influence in their countries. Um, if Maduro and Trump do not meet, President Trump may lose some electoral followers in Miami. The meeting with Maduro would help Mr. Trump flagged some action options on how to deal with Venezuela issues. I believe it is the reason why President Trump wanted to deal with President Nicolas Maduro. The assembly elections will take place. The Venezuelan assembly elections will take place January 5th, 2021. In today's National Assembly, a the opposition has the majority, and it's something they are fraught to lose. The main reason Europe Congresses want to cancel the assembly electoral election in Venezuela is because they do not wish to return the goal located in the UK, and the US does not want to return Citgo and all the millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, millions of thousands of dollars that they owe for the petroleum. Nations that support Guaido are looking for a way to delegitimize the elections. They want to find a way to call fraud to continue with the economic, military, and social war unrest in Venezuela. It's a must to get rid of a government that is in their way to getting Venezuela's national resources. NATO countries would like to see possibly Guaido, Leopoldo Lopez, Maria Colina Machado, or Julio Borges. I wonder who the U.S. government would choose as their best puppet. I say things how they are, or I keep my mouth shut. I ask you, my viewers, who support Guaido and those who seem to celebrate whenever the European Union undergoes under orders of Washington adds sanctions to Venezuela to try to get Chavistas and oppositions to go against their legitimate government. I ask, what benefits you and your families will gain if by chance Guaido and governments who interfere in Venezuela's sovereignty take over its natural resources, how will your lives improve? Please leave that down in your comments. Um, I will remind you, my friends, our fight is with corporations and national financial institutions who take over the state and gain infinite wealth. Meanwhile, the population of those countries lose their homes, can't afford their health care, lose their cars, personal savings, possibly can't afford education, right? We the people need to get our governments to work for our benefits instead of the benefits of corporations. One small example, Cuba, which has been under unilateral sanctions for over 50 years. 90% of their population is educated and they have universal health care. Rich countries are charging an eye and a leg to their citizens because corporations have taken over the health care system. We need governments who will use our nation's richness to educate our children, keep us healthy, um, provide us with infrastructure. Infrastructure is housing and safe roads. It's a handful of corporations cannot run our lives. During this worldwide situation, corporations with multi-billion-dollar accounts receive large stimulus packages, while thousands of medium and small-sized businesses bankrupt. It's not the first time it happens. Let us not forget 1998 when financial institutions came before citizens and tens of thousands of citizens became homeless. We should not allow the press to demonize the few presidents, legislative members, and Congress who place citizens first. We should always ask the media for proof of their accusations. I like what President Maduro said. He said Venezuela does not fear any nation, and is ready to confront any government from Europe, Latin America, or the U.S. Nations that decide to invade Venezuela may encounter their worst nightmare. Venezuela is not alone. They have China, Iran, Russia, and they're on their side. I tend to think the U.S. does not want Iran to create an army base close to them, geographically speaking. Hmm? I want us to remember how Iran is still looking to avenge Major General Wassam Soleimani, his assassination. He was a commander and he was assassinated on January 3rd, 2020 by US drones. I have noticed that minds that are awakened are persecuted and those minds that have fallen in a trance have lost power. I will always say things the way they are and I don't mind if you disagree. Please leave your comments down below. Until next time, my friends.